All right, it's streaming, and I'm gonna hit the music. Play that bitch for like. All right, guys, what's going on?
Hello.
Coming at you guys live, Jersey Friday, Pacific Sports Talk Radio.
Yep, Jersey Friday. Good times. Hope everyone's had a pretty good Friday, man.
Yeah, Friday's coming to a close here, but we're just getting started with the news around the sporting leagues, in specifics the NFL and the MLB or NBA. No MLB talk today.
Yes, sir.
We can get into some recap. We'll talk Clippers Warriors quickly. What were your thoughts on the game?
I thought that the Warriors came out extremely flat. They just, everyone's been talking about it. If a lot of people don't know, but it's been blowing up. This video of Steph yelling at the bench or the lineup, and Steph is not like an animated person, so it's pretty wild.
Not animated in the fashion of negativity, right?
No, it was just like get your heads out of your asses,
But like I'm saying, we're not used to seeing Steph get upset. We see him happy and shimmying. We don't really see him yelling at his teammates.
Yeah, it wasn't aggression or anything, but it was borderline. It was, yeah, he's pretty upset. But the Clippers look really good. I honestly think the one bad thing was Pat Bev went down with a knee injury in the second quarter, which is kind of significant because Pat Bev is
he's a big
lockdown defender. I think one of the biggest like low key signings of the year was Batum. He after I forgot how good he was. I remember him on Portland a while ago, and then the Charlotte Hornets overpaid him, and he just was never that guy. He was supposed to be like a number two, and that's not Batum. He's not a number two.
No.
He's a really solid wing defender and 3-point shooter, and
the bench too.
He's because he's old now, but he's been really, really, really good. He knocked down 4 or 5 threes. It was pretty impressive. So I thought he's the one player on the Clippers that I think is like sneaky good. And then Paul George still shooting 45% for 3. I think they need to play a little bit better defense, but they have the personnel to lock people down. But again, Pat Bev, I don't know the significance, but he did have to leave the game.
So for the majority of the game, it was pretty much a beatdown from the start. And if you were tuned in and you watched the post-game show, you were able to see the guys' thoughts. And Charles Barkley had a viral reaction to the game, saying that the Warriors should just tank. And Shaq said that. Shaq said that, and then Charles went in and said that he believed that tanking it ain't a bad thing. You know, it's not something to be ashamed of. And Shaq talked about how, you know, Curry's minutes are valuable, especially getting into the later half of his career. If we go all in on this season, what are we accomplishing as a Warriors point of view? Like, what are you guys are you going to win the championship? Or are you going to run Steph Curry to the ground and have him be exhausted for years that are important?
Yeah, they're not, but I mean, Kerr has a cap on Steph's minutes and he never goes over it, though. You know?
I agree with that, but the minutes that he's playing, he's obviously having to work a lot harder than he normally would.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's getting overplayed. You look at his minutes; he's not up there that high. I don't know. It's like, what do you want to do? Because they were so shitty last year, and Steph set out the whole year. It's not like they're going to tank this year. That's never going to happen. So
what do you make of those comments? I guess you just disregard.
I mean, they're not going to fucking tank. LeCobb was the one that said Joe Lacob. he by signing Kelly Oubre and paying another, so they signed him and they're paying another $30 million in luxury tax just to sign him. You think they're going to tank? I mean,
Yeah,
they're not going to tank.
that's a good point.
Over Joe Lacob's dead body, will they tank? And Steph's.
That's a fair point, Dean.
Yeah.
Hey, so I just wanted to take a quick second here and talk about the jersey you got on, man. What
Julio, man.
what number?
Alabama, bro.
Alabama.
Julio.
So I guess we unintentionally put on our Hall of Fame wide receiver jerseys.
Moss.
I'm rocking the OG Moss. From,
The old Vikes jersey.
Vikes jersey. Yeah, that fade on it. A little wear and tear on the jersey, but still it does its job. So
Yeah.
hey, that's a pretty good point, and I would have to agree with you that the Warriors' investment in this season is not going to be tanking, but it is a fair critique. You know, losing 4 straight, right? 4 straight now.
Yeah, that's 4 straight. They're
And,
500.
They're not. Their schedule in these next couple, it's not going to get easier. They have a very good chance
Jazz,
of dropping
Lakers.
5 if anything goes.
They have a good chance of dropping 6.
Who they
6 in a row.
6 in a row, yeah, and that's not a good look going into the second half. Yeah, you'd like to see more from Wiseman. Steph Curry went in and said whatever he does on his own time is kind of something that he needs to learn. But once he can figure that out and just start playing basketball, that's when they can kind of come together.
Yeah, the one irritating thing is, and I know it's a balancing act between how much do you play Wiseman and you're also in the hunt for the playoffs. But it's really irritating when Kerr isn't giving him 20 minutes a game.
No.
Right? He needs to play 20 minutes a game.
Because
You draft a guy in the top 5, he has to play 20 minutes a game.
Where is he going to
So-
be next year when the Warriors are
Behind.
actually going to be in
Behind.
contention? Exactly, as you said.
He's going to be behind in his development. Yep.
No, totally.
So,
I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, Kerr, he's got to play him. As Warriors fans, I don't even really give a crap about winning games. They could get to the 10 seed, no problem, and get into the play-in. And if they get into the play-in, Steph Curry will not get eliminated in that play-in tournament. So you have to play your number 2 overall pick, heir apparent to Steph Curry when he eventually retires. You have to play that guy.
Yep.
Big men need minutes. Big men take longer to develop than guards and other players, forwards. It's kind of infuriating. Kerr not giving him more minutes, but he did say after the game he's going to give him more minutes now because a bunch of people were hammering him.
About time.
But I'll believe it when I see it. So yeah, they're just frustrating to watch. They're a streaky team right now. I really enjoyed watching the Clippers. I watched kind of the Clippers in depth. They definitely look a lot better than they did last year. They look like there's a pecking order, and obviously the playoffs are different. But Kawhi's a freaking machine, and everyone's saying that there's been a lot of talk all over the place about the 3-pointer and how it's killing the league. But man, Kawhi does all of his damage from the mid range. So it's like the best players still do their damage from the mid range. Steph shoots a lot of mid range shots. Durant shoots a lot of mid range shots.
Yeah, it's funny. People see Steph Curry and
Kyrie too.
People see Steph Curry and they look at his game and it's like, yeah, Kyrie Irving as well. They look at these guys and all you see is the 3 points and the highlights and all that and the dunks, but really where these guys are making their money, and especially Kawhi Leonard at such an efficient rate on the mid range, especially him, he leads the charge in that.
Yeah, they all shoot high percentages from the mid range, so it's people just miss that though. They don't, and it is
in the highlights.
If you're watching a basketball game, they are the easiest to miss. The mid range, it's like why Wiggins we never see. Quiet. You never think Wiggins has the points that he has because it's interesting because unlike a layup, it's like I don't know if it's because of social media and computers that we're all ADD'd out and we can't focus. That a mid range isn't like unless you totally like shoot over, unless you Carmelo someone like Kyrie, like Kawhi does sometimes. It's like such a subtle shot, you don't even notice it goes in. You don't even really think about it.
Or it's just points that you look at the scoreboard, but you don't really attribute it to the player.
You don't notice the play.
Yeah,
is the thing. It goes. People don't think about it.
Quiet. It's quiet points.
Very quiet. Like you. It's funny. You notice the threes, you notice dunks and layups, and you notice the guy's free throws because free throws are a stoppage.
Yeah.
But you never notice the mid-range shot. It's very interesting.
They're sneaky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when Steph or Clay would get hot, or any other player for that matter, from outside the arc, it's just like the loudest shots you could ever, witness.
Yeah.
But then you get guys like DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi Leonard, and Carmelo Anthony, and all these players that live at the mid range, and they can do it at a level that's just kind of just like you don't even notice it. It's an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah, you just don't notice the mid range. It's pretty interesting.
We've
the best players have a mid range.
We've talked about that, like games where it's like, oh, like we didn't really recognize like them doing that much, but then you look at the score sheet and it's like, oh, Wiggins had 24 points. Like where did these come from? And you're on point with that.
They make all their Wiggins makes all of his money in the mid range. He doesn't. Threes are driving. No, he was just taught the Kobe fadeaway type shot. That Kawhi does to perfection.
He doesn't do any takeout. Most of it's indoors, huh?
Yeah.
Was that a pity laugh right there?
Nah, a little bit. Yeah. A little bit. I'm not going to lie to you.
I suspect. Hey, moving on to the Kings-Rockets game. De'Aaron Fox had a great game. I think pretty much up and down the starting lineup. Everyone had double digits in the starting lineup. 4 out of the 5 players, aside from Bagley. So Barnes, Fox, Holmes, Hield, 20 points at least. De'Aaron Fox had 30. Just an all-out massacre on the poor Houston Rockets, who have just been failing.
That's 13 in a row they've lost.
I mean, we could talk about what that says for them, like as far as like James Harden being right, because he was. They didn't have enough. But at the same time, good outing.
I don't know.
Good outing from the Kings.
I don't agree with that.
You don't think they had enough? I mean, they didn't get enough back, and they're also without Oladipo, so you do have that point.
No, I think their entire they changed their. It's not like they had a system that was based on a group dynamic. The Rockets system was completely based on James Harden and ISO.
Yeah,
it's like the Warriors. If Steph were to move on. Yeah. And they tried playing the same way that they play with Steph without Steph on the court.
Or when LeBron leaves a team. It's like a dynamic.
Yeah. It's they just they have such a sway over how the offense and
there's a big hole.
Played.
There's a big hole missing there. He was doing a lot. It's
just that their entire offense runs around him. It's not even a big part. He was the offense. He wasn't a part of the offense. The entire offense was based around him.
Yeah.
And then like you said, like it's like when every time you see LeBron leaves a team, his former team collapses like a dying star. They suck. They're terrible. You saw the Heat. I mean, granted, Bosch had that health thing that he had to retire, but D-Wade, the Heat sucked.
Yeah.
The Cavs have both times they're just terrible after he leaves.
I think a big part of it is right, like the talent and just like what that player meant to the team and like how you said it, like they ran the offense. But yeah, you're right. Like having that much invested in a player as well, like you're not ever going to get the same, even if you trade, like obviously James Harden, they didn't get what they got back. So, I mean, they're just put in a worse spot. I don't know where I'm going with it, but you could just definitely tell the Rockets have been struggling. And Yeah.
It's interesting because I think about a guy like KD. The offense, I mean, except for that one year where he won the MVP, every team he's on, the offense isn't totally based around him. I mean, granted, there's a couple games, but there isn't like a season-long offense built around KD. KD is one of those interesting players. He's almost got like the pull of a role player, like how he could just fit into any system. But when he leaves, it's not as a significant kill because the entire offense isn't based around KD. KD can just go in. It's like Kawhi. KD and Kawhi can just go in and do their work like mercs. The offense doesn't collapse after they're gone.
I call them killer chameleons.
Killer chameleons?
They could just blend in anywhere.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
But like after they leave teams, the teams don't collapse. The Raptors are all right.
No, yeah.
The Thunder with Russell Westbrook were what, a 5 or a 6 seed in the playoffs? Like,
that's a really good point. And I mean, we're seeing it even now. I know obviously the Nets are a different situation, but he's out and they're still winning games.
Yeah.
So it's like he almost like he's like a multiplier. He's like, you know, he will enhance whatever's going on for you. But he's not gonna he's not gonna change it that much when he leaves.
It doesn't destroy the team. Yeah, that's why like the Warriors, they still had Steph and Draymond and Clay against Portland. You know, the offense wasn't built around KD.
No.
You know, Steph and Clay and Draymond were out there, and that's why they swept the Blazers.
KD's just a player that you'll hand him the ball, and he'll make good things happen with it. But it's not
just
like
get you a bucket. They're mercs. They're mercenaries.
He'll get you a bucket, or he'll make the right pass. But it's not like it's the end of the world when they're gone because he's not bringing the ball up every time like James Harden or LeBron.
Yeah.
It has to do with how he plays off the ball, I think. I think his off-the-ball game is a big part of that.
Yeah, and then Steph is that rare unicorn where he really doesn't have the ball, but the offense still affects. He's like the only player where that, you're right. Most players where their team falls apart after they lose, they're ball dominant, right? LeBron, Harden. I think Steph is the only one in the league that actually, when he doesn't have the ball, obviously he's his most dangerous. That's what everyone says. But it's the movement offense. He doesn't need the ball, and he still is that important to the offense. I don't think there's another player in the history of basketball off the ball is so important to his team.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're comparing Steph to like guys like Ray Allen, and he's already getting the edge in that discussion. So, moving on to the other game that was kind of interesting was the Suns and Trailblazers.
Oh, wait, can I say one thing? Back on the Kings, we went down the Rockets tangent.
Yeah.
I would like to see, I think the Kings have a really, really solid roster. I like a lot of their players. I like Holmes.
They're deep.
I like Buddy. They're very deep. It's interesting. They remind me of the Suns, but they're super dysfunctional. And they have a little bit less talent. But
they're the Suns' juvenile brother.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. Little bro. But I also think Luke Walton's, and respect to Luke Walton when he was with the Warriors, but he's not a good coach. They need another coach. But the Kings management, ownership, is Vlade the CEO or Vlade? I don't know, but he's really with his head in the sand. They don't want to get better. I don't think they need another coach, but he's terrible with his rotations. It's horrible to watch.
The Kings,
even De'Aaron Fox is out there. He's definitely becoming one of those players that has gotten used to losing, and you could ruin De'Aaron Fox that way. Like I've noticed this last year. He's less with his hands on his hips and just disgusted with the just nonstop losing that the Kings go through. And that's what Wiggins was, so it's interesting. De'Aaron Fox has a lot of talent. I hope they don't ruin him.
It's funny. It's like the Kings and like the Pelicans, the Hawks I would throw in there. The Hawks are doing obviously a lot better than the other two, but there's like a lot of teams in the league that are just very young and have a lot of like talent, like a lot of
Yeah,
talent. But there's a difference between talent and a star. You can have talent and you're still not a star. You're raw. You have to be developed, mature, a lot of different qualities to start really winning games. And I think you're right. I think the Kings in this situation they need to get a better coach that can handle these raw younger players. Walton, what has he really been through throughout his career? I know he's a good guy. And no disrespect to him as a person, but I mean he really just inherited like one of the best teams ever. And of course you're going to win 80 to 90% of those because you don't
yeah.
you could put you could put me out there and I think we would probably win 80% of those games.
Do you remember when there was like this whole thing on whether Coach of the Year was Steve Kerr or Luke Walton?
Yeah.
Do you remember when that was going on?
Yeah.
That was the most blasphemous thing ever. It was like, oh my god, man, that was super annoying hearing people. Luke Walton should get it. No, Luke Walton shouldn't get it.
Where Steve Kerr earns his like stripes is like the transformation from, and we're not going to get into this too much, from 2013 when they were playing ISO with Mark Jackson, 2013, 2014 to 20, and then he takes over at 2014-15. They win. When
it wasn't full ISO.
It was
Mark Jackson had him and Clay running off the pick. You remember the picket fence?
Yeah,
it was double pick.
David Lee, yeah.
So it was like it was ISO, but he did a lot of that. But then it was like
Kerr got rid of most of that.
They don't use the picket fence.
Yeah.
I remember during the playoffs they used it for one play, and I was like, "Holy crap! I haven't seen the picket fence in like 7 years."
Throwback.
Like it was like, whoa. It was like, wow, man. The last time someone was doing that, Bogut was out there. I was like, wow.
The Aussie.
Yeah, but it's just these guys with the Warriors. I don't want to get into the Warriors, but a lot of them are stagnant. They don't move around Steph. They don't get it yet. But I think De'Aaron Fox, jumping back to the Kings, I think he is going to be a star. He's like borderline a star right now.
Yeah. I mean, his averages say so, right? He's averaging 23 a game.
Yeah. They're going to get a high pick this year. They're just like next year with another high pick. Like they're going to be. I don't think one is going to be able to. I think the Kings are going to be good in a couple of years. It is hard because they have a bad culture.
Yeah.
But I think they'll be a playoff team in the next few years, especially with how loaded this draft is, and they're going to get a top 10 pick. But I don't think Luke Walton will be around to enjoy it. That's the last thing I'll say.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. So, hey, moving on here, and we'll keep an eye on the Kings as we progress through the season. Hopefully, maybe they can get something rolling.
They're all right. They're 15-22. They can make the 10 spot.
They can make a push there, yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, last recap we're gonna do is the Suns Trailblazers, and just gonna give you some quick stats here. Devin Booker was the standout player of the game. 12 of 21 from field, 3 of 5 from 3. Hit all 8 of his free throws and had 35 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists. The Suns won 127 to 121. Dame had 30 points on the other side, but that was not enough. What were your key takeaways from that matchup?
I was just a couple things. We were talking about betting. I'm surprised that D-Book was questionable, and he had a hamstring injury, which kind of really hinders you when you're running around. You know, hamstrings suck. That he would go out and explode like this. It makes me think that them saying that he was questionable was just like being super, super cautionary. Like, I don't even think he was hurt, to be honest. He was still hurt. You're not going to go out there and drop 35 if your hamstring is questionable.
Maybe Kendall Jenner needed him to run him, hang out or something. Maybe she wasn't getting enough time.
God. Man, we don't discuss the Kardashians on this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because I mean, if you look at the Kardashians' record with just people. Most of them,
Ben Simmons.
most of them have gone crazy.
Yeah, they're just such toxic people. They disgust me.
I mean, I really hope I do hope that Devin Booker is not getting too lost in the sauce there.
It's like the Madden curse, but it's the Kardashian curse.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar Odom almost died. We almost lost Lamar, man. Those were dark days.
Yeah,
back at the brothel.
I mean, he was having like bipolar and anxiety problems before he ever met Chloe, though.
That's true, but I would argue that she helped bring some of those things out.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about them. I didn't. Watch
I don't know
Chloe
anything
Lamar.
about them. I like patterns. So when I see a pattern and it starts to make sense, I look at that.
I don't want to get into. I just think Chloe being, I mean, she's in shape now, but I don't want to go down this road. But she was a little bit heavier back then.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're heavier, you're more comfortable with your skin. You can be.
Yeah.
You're not like trying to starve yourself like Courtney and
Kim.
Kim doesn't try to starve herself, but she's very into her appearance. I mean, the amount of plastic surgery. But we're not going to go into this further. But I always thought that Chloe was the most mellow out of all of them.
We'll have a Kardashian discussion on Tuesday if you guys want to tune into that.
Yeah, that's not happening. We probably will never discuss them again from this point on. So I just had to say that. But to go back to the Suns and Trailblazers, how much longer is CJ out for?
It was a foot injury.
He's been out for so long.
He's been out for over a month and a half, maybe 2 months, right?
It's mid-January? I think it's been like 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
He's McCollum has been cleared to take part in contact practice, so maybe he's a week out.
I mean, yeah, they miss him. I mean, they've
been out a while. And Zach Collins, man. Zach Collins is a beast.
Yeah, he can hit threes and play good D.
He's been out long because he broke his ankle. Yeah.
I think McCollum though is once they get that back, I think we could see Portland start rolling because they've been playing kind of decently without him for.
Yeah, no. Well, they have a good veteran supporting cast. Oh, okay. Well, let's go into news. I'll jump start into news from here. Did you see that LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs have agreed to part ways?
Really?
Yeah, that happened yesterday. So do you think they're a reunion between Dame and LaMarcus, like the old days, like the early 2010s? You think he'll come in?
That'd be interesting.
Like Carmelo?
He'd definitely be coming in the second unit, so he'd have to accept a lesser role. But I think if that happened, I'd be pretty stoked. What about you?
Yeah, I think he'd be like a perfect, like a Melo role, like just another Melo. Like he's so tall he could still get his mid range on just about anyone.
Yeah.
But he is a liability on defense. But the Blazers have Covington. They're good defensively. Their wings are good defensively. So I like it. If he wasn't asking for too much money, it really depends on how much he asked for. But
do you think if you're the Spurs, you go and look at guys like maybe Kevin Love?
No, I think Pop's trying to get younger. You know, they got Murray and they got a bunch of good young players. I don't think they're trying to get a bunch of older players.
Keldon Johnson's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, they have some good young guys. I don't think I'm not impressed with. I haven't been impressed with LaMarcus the last couple of years.
Yeah,
he definitely hasn't been told to, like Carmelo was told to be in a backup role, but he probably should have been in a backup role a year and a half ago. So if he could do that, I would like him on Portland. I think that would help. You know why? Because Yusuf Nurkic can't stay healthy. He's hurt again. Nurkic gets hurt like 3 times every single year.
Dude, it's insane.
At the time of the trade, when he was on the Nuggets, I thought it was a great trade and it was great value. But man, he can't stay healthy. He's a really good player, but he's a liability on defense and he can't stay healthy.
Man,
so it's just like
the Nuggets really won that one.
Yeah, I think Nurkic. If Nurkic was able to stay healthy, he's such a good player. But every year he gets hurt for a couple of weeks.
But you get into the Jimmy G conversation of like, what the guy can do and he can play well, but if he's off the court, right?
Yeah. I think it's a little different with basketball because it's not a contact sport, And like, what if the Warriors had given up on Steph, through his 2.5 years of ankle problems?
True, but being a big man's different though.
It is,
especially in Portland.
Lower body injuries on a big man are more significant,
and especially in Portland when they've literally experienced. Who is the guy?
What, David Bowie, Michael Jordan, that draft, and Greg Oden. You're probably talking about
Greg Oden. Yeah, they had the big
David Bowie too,
and David Bowie.
He was picked over Michael Jordan.
They've had some woes in their drafting. And
big man injuries.
So I mean,
Greg Oden out of Ohio State was so good.
He was amazing, but he only played like 5 games, right? Like he barely played anything.
He got hurt his rookie year, and it was it ruined his entire career.
Brandon Roy, man, those days. All right, so hey, I wanted to talk about the slate we got going on today. There's a few games that already started. It's 5:40 right now. Why don't we just take some picks out of the 4 upcoming games, and we can start rolling from there, and then get into a little NFL talk.
Sounds good.
So Heat Bulls -2 are the Heat, and it is over under 222.5.
Over. Both of them score a lot.
Yep.
I would definitely take the over. Both of them. And then the Heat are favored by 3?
Heat are favored by 2, and I would take that. They're coming off a back-to-back.
Is everyone playing? They're coming off a back-to-back?
Adebayo is a day-to-day.
Bam's not playing?
He's day-to-day, so you know how NBA works.
So he's not playing tonight.
No, he could definitely play tonight. I've seen day-to-day be... That's just like he's on the injury report, but he could play.
Oh, they haven't ruled him out. He's day-to-day.
Day-to-day is like he could play or not. He's likely to play. Does that make sense?
I mean, I know what day-to-day is. I
don't ever consider someone out.
Day-to-day, I've seen, What?
I don't ever consider day-to-day out, because remember yesterday with Devin Booker, it was likely that we thought he would be out, but then he played. So that's like an example,
He was questionable. That wasn't day-to-day.
Well, no, okay, so on this application that I'm using, Bleacher Report, they listed him as day-to-day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've seen day-to-day and guys sit out day-to-day.
I've seen day-to-day. I've seen both ways.
Yeah, so, okay, maybe. If Bam plays, I'd pick the Heat. If Bam doesn't play, Bam's huge to the Heat. I might pick Chicago to upset them.
Hey, so it's a questionable situation, but you got to go with...
I take Chicago money line if Bam's not playing.
But let's just say what, because we don't know if that could be released. It's 5:40 right now. It's still day-to-day. You just got to go.
I'll take Chicago money line.
Take Chicago money line. There
Send
you go.
it.
We're not going to say if or what.
Chicago money line and then the over.
Chicago money line, the over? Okay.
What do you think?
I like the over. I like Heat money line. I still think they can win that.
Cool. Let's hit the next one.
So Magic, Spurs. Spurs are -7.5. Magic coming off a back-to-back. They just lost by 9 to the Heat. The over-under is 215. I kind of like the under in that. I could see it. It's in San Antonio.
Where is it, by the way? San Antonio?
Yeah.
What's... Hold on. Let me just look at this for a second. I agree with you. I would pick the under. It seems like every Spurs home game is the under, doesn't it? Like I've seen a bunch of teams play in San Antonio.
And the Magic are a team that don't really, usually don't score a lot of points. Coming off a back-to-back.
LaMarcus is gone. I might pick Vucevic to eat. I'd take Orlando to cover that spread.
All right, and then Rockets.
And I choose the under with you.
Rock-
oh, wait, no. Who would you pick?
Are you typing these out, by the way, of our picks?
I'll just rewatch it. And,
okay, all right. I would take. I think I actually. Let me check. Because I made some picks today. I think I did take the Magic. Let me just double check really quickly. God, the Face ID. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Okay. No, I took Spurs money line.
You took Spurs money line?
Yeah.
I think 7.5 is too much.
I took a money line, so just
so that's a good bet. So he took. So guys, I'm taking Orlando to cover 7.5.
Yeah.
We both are choosing the under, and Brady took Spurs money line. So
yeah, I mean, I think the Magic can cover that though. I just took a money.
I do too.
Yeah,
I do too. So
that's why I took a money line.
Okay, well then, to not confuse people, we both agree the Orlando will cover 7.5.
All right, Rockets, Jazz. Jazz are minus 18.5 point favorites against the Rockets, who have lost very many games in a row, as we just talked about.
I'll take the Rockets to cover that. That's so psycho, that line.
I'll take minus 18.5 Jazz. And over-under.
You savage.
Over-under 229.
Over, probably.
Yeah.
Jazz are like the highest scoring team in the league.
And then last but not least, Pacers, Lakers. I'm going to take the Lakers to cover minus 4.5. And then I think
that's the Pacers and the Lakers?
I think that's an under 217.
Pacers and Lakers. Where is it?
LA.
80 still out?
Yep. I like the under a lot, actually.
I like the under. I'm just thinking about. You're right. I'll choose the under too. I like the under. It's 4.5.
Yep.
I think the Pacers will cover that.
Okay. All right, so we differ on that on the spread, but for most part, we agree on most of the over and unders. And we'll have all our picks in the description. I'll get to that after the video gets posted. Well, it's live right now, but once it's
yeah, they get it. They get the deal. Yeah.
So that's with the NBA talk. I just wanted to quickly go over some NFL news. The Seahawks and the Bears are ramping up. However, the Bears wouldn't really have a quarterback for them to take and fill in the roles of Russell Wilson. So with that being said, it's likely that the Bears would be packaging 5 first-round picks. With those first-round picks, I was listening to various news sites. They believe that if this were to happen, the Seahawks could potentially be getting into the Darnold conversation. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Obviously, Pete Carroll is a USC coach. What he had to say about Sam Darnold in the offseason kind of raises some eyebrows in this situation. And I'm going to get that quote to you in a second. But I just wanted to hear what you thought about that, especially with the Niners.
Is it confirmed? Are they just...
No, it's... I mean, it's
Who released that chapter?
It's speculation. It's nothing more than speculation.
I don't know how they would get into the top 12. The Bears have the 20th pick this year.
Yeah.
And then, so 4 more first-round picks. With Russell Wilson in that defense, those picks are going to be bottom 20, bottom 10 every year. Yeah. Those aren't going to be high first-round picks.
No.
So I don't even think they could get into the top 10. They'd have to give up 3 first round.
I was talking about Sam Darnold.
Oh, to get Sam Darnold?
Yeah. No, I don't.
Oh, yeah. The Seahawks are crazy enough to actually give a first rounder for if they have him to burn.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, I wasn't talking about the draft. I was talking
Oh,
about
I thought you were saying that they were going to trade up into the draft, into the quarterback.
no. Well, what I was trying to say was Pete Carroll was gushing over Sam Darnold, as New York Post said. That's not my words. He said, "I think he's really talented without question. He's got throws in him. He's a real quarterback. He sees things. He makes big plays and big throws in difficult situations. Because of his talent, it's just a matter of time."
He
Sam,
likes his USC guys.
that's what I was saying.
The alma
Yes,
mater.
Sam's going to be a really big time QB. He's thrown a lot of balls in 3 years. He's had a lot of experience. It will pay off in the long run. So Pete Carroll giving his praise for the young Jets quarterback, and people think that there's a chance that if Russell Wilson gets shipped to the Bears for 5 first-rounders, they might not be high picks like you said, but they could flip over towards.
I could totally see Pete Carroll trading a first rounder for him, which I think would be a mistake. But I think that's super high for Darnold.
Yeah.
No one else would give a first round pick for him. So, but I could see Pete Carroll is like he runs that entire team. So there's no management, there's no checks and balances with the Seahawks. That's why the Seahawks are going through this whole crap fest right now because Pete Carroll has all the power. So he's going to trade a first round pick for him. I think if they move Russell Wilson, I think there's a high likelihood they will trade a first round pick for him.
And you think part of it, they traded the 3 first-rounders to get Jamal Adams. If they trade Russell Wilson, they'll get 5, so they'll get their picks back. Not the same picks, obviously, but
the Seahawks are just going downhill so hard.
Yeah, there's really.
I don't even trust their culture to make him a better player. I know we're biased because we're Niner fans, but I mean, to upset Russell Wilson, do you think the culture is that healthy there? To upset someone as chill as Russell Wilson?
Yeah. You kind of wonder, when they were going after, Antonio Brown, what would have happened had he stayed there and this shit show was going on?
Yeah, it's like someone that has a mental disease and they're put into a toxic situation that they just can't handle. It's like they need a lot of someone like Antonio Brown needed a lot of structure. What did Tom Brady give him? A lot of structure.
A place to live.
He would have gone off the edge if he went to Seattle. Everyone agreed on that. Darnold, after his confidence is definitely fractured from these years. He was a 3rd overall pick. People were writing him off. The Jets are being talked about. It's most likely they're going to pick Zach Wilson. He already knows he's going to be replaced. He needs a lot of structure to help him get his confidence back. I think Pete Carroll is good. He's a player's coach. He can instill confidence in someone, but I wouldn't feel good if I was Darnold going to the Seahawks after Russell Wilson, who's one of the best quarterbacks, in NFL history. He just is. He's a top 20 quarterback. For him to want to get out, I would be worried if I was Darnold to go to that type of situation.
No, completely, man. And it's just gonna be it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be interesting to see where things go. Like I said on the last podcast, I don't think anything is gonna happen. I think that Russell will stay with the Seahawks, but
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if he got moved this year.
But if he goes to the Bears, man, I can't tell you that I wouldn't be looking forward to seeing how that works out.
I could see him going to the Bears next year. I can't. I don't believe that's going to happen. I just don't believe he's going to be moved this year.
Yeah, it was funny. I was having a conversation with me and Dean. One of our buddies is a big Seahawks fan, and this was a conversation I had in July of last year. And we were talking, and I said, "Hey, man, I don't think that Russell Wilson is going to end his career in Seattle." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "No, I can't believe you." And I'm like, "Hey, man, what did we just see upstairs on the East Coast with Tom? No one would ever expect him to leave that team."
You said that jokingly, though. You weren't being serious.
No, I seriously got into it with them, and he's just like, no way. He's like, I can't believe it. And I swear to God, I told him, I said, I don't think that any quarterback at this point, after what had just happened last March, I don't think any quarterback is going to look at their team the same way and say, hey, it's changed forever, and there's a reason why.
Well, no, at the time, you're correct, but not at the time that you talked to him about this. This was over the summer. Now,
I didn't say that.
It's after the Bucks. The fact that the Bucks won the Super Bowl is the reason.
No,
you had this conversation over the summer.
I had this conversation before the 2020 season even started, but
that's what I'm saying.
But what I'm trying to say was I looked at that Seattle team, and I didn't think that they were going to win a championship that year. I know the fans of Seattle did, but I didn't think they were going to win a championship, just being real. And I said, things change. Like you never know. And I just didn't. I told him, I said, I don't think I could see Russ finishing his career there. I said that. That might have been outlandish, but I just said that.
Well, now that I'm just saying, you can't use Tom winning the Super Bowl at the time. You didn't use that. Now
I didn't use that at all. It didn't make sense to him. Yeah.
Because if you already knew they were going to win the Super Bowl, and I think you're right, because everyone's been talking. I think quarterbacks are looking at their teams after what Tom Brady just did, and they're like, "What the hell?" So it's, and
I know we don't like to talk too much about number 12, but I think that when tides are literally made throughout the league, when tides are made throughout the league, it warrants discussion, in my opinion.
No, it is significant. Everyone. Well, that's why I think a lot of this quarterback controversy is happening. It's because they won the Super Bowl, and Tom just went to another team and won the Super Bowl immediately. And they're like,
on a COVID season.
And they brought together players, and they're like, the hardest thing to do in sports is winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because you don't have multiple games. It's one game.
And injuries.
The other team could just have your number.
And look at the Niners, man. They were like one of the more talented teams in the league, and a few injuries happened at the beginning of the year, and boom, they're not even going to make the playoffs. So
it's not just injuries; it's also just a team might have your number one day.
Yeah,
it's football. It's one game. It's single elimination.
It's quite. Would you say it's quite volatile? Is that fair to?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's just. If you come out flat, you're done. You don't have 3 more games to still get back into it. Like baseball and hockey and basketball. It's just
especially
it's one game, and it's like, and I think a lot of people are like, "What the hell?" It's the hardest thing to do, win the Super Bowl, because it's a lot of it's luck. More so than any other major sports championship to win. So it's just, I think a part of Russell Wilson, he's like fed up with Pete Carroll. He doesn't see himself being in the Super Bowl running the next 4 years.
With what
if he saw a light at the end of the tunnel, like, oh, we're getting younger, we're getting better, we're getting a better offensive line. It's not like they have a bunch of young offensive line talent, and they have a lower pick than the Niners. So it's like they have no high picks to get one of those great offensive linemen in this draft, and Russell Wilson doesn't see an end in sight. So I get it. I get his frustration.
The other thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I don't see him moving this year. I think it would be next year. Go ahead.
The other thing, it's like Russell Wilson. It's not weapons for him, right? He has DK Metcalf. He has Lockett. He's got tight ends. He's got running backs that might not be able to stay healthy, but they get the job done in his system.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different situation, but at the same time, it's like, he doesn't have the O-line. And transitioning with the O-line, let's talk about the Chiefs really quick. Their center they let go, and I believe another member of their offensive line, I don't remember the position, but 2 of their offensive linemen, one of them being, a very, very solid part of their team. There was a center.
Yeah. The Niners were supposedly in the running to get him right now.
They let him go, and it's just going to be. It's not going to be easy for me to look at the Chiefs and be confident in them, regardless of who. Yeah, everyone. Regardless of who Patrick Mahomes is and can be. They got Bosa. They got to face Bosa twice a year. Joey Bosa. The teams in his division are getting better. We saw the way to beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are single-handedly, potentially taking apart their line.
It's just interesting because, the NFL is a cap, obviously.
Yep.
You can't – it's not baseball. You can't pay everyone. So you only have a finite amount of resources. You only have a finite amount of dollars to pay your entire team.
And where'd they go with all that money?
Yeah, that's the point I'm going to get to.
Yeah,
they chose. No, but you're right though. They chose. Most teams. You know how they say winning teams, winning championships. A lot of people, you put most of your money into your offensive line and your defensive line. Now, what the Chiefs did was they did it. Kind of like the Warriors. They did this new type of. They put all of their money into their offense, not their defense. Besides the one DN, whatever the hell his name is, Chris Jones. They put all of their money into their receivers and tight end and their skill positions. So, and then what happened in the Super Bowl? So they got coverage sacks, but Mahomes was getting beat up, and he had a good offensive line. Now imagine him losing 2 starting offensive linemen, and they're not going to be better. They're going to be worse players than those 2 players they got.
And especially when Mahomes' contract is not team friendly, it's going to get worse.
Oh, well, he actually made it team friendly. It's backloaded.
But I mean, every year it's going to get more expensive.
Every year, yeah. This year was going to be they were trying to win back-to-back, so this year he gave him a break and it's backloaded.
Yeah.
This next year, I think he gets paid a lot. But it's just interesting. Because I think eventually, they're just going to they put all of their eggs into one basket. It's all into their skill positions.
Yeah.
And if you can't block, Mahomes is getting just beaten down by the Bucs defensive line and linebackers. So it's interesting to me. I think he's going to have something to say when he gets sacked at least 10 more times this year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And the other news around the league, Tom signed a contract that was team-friendly, and 1-year extension, and an effort to keep the team that he had around him. So they signed Chris Godwin, which was surprising to me, to a franchise tag.
Vontae too, right? Vontae David?
Yeah, and Levante. They got a good deal on Levante. But I was surprised that they went after Godwin over Shaquille Barrett. Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett costs more, probably, right?
Well, Shaq Barrett does cost more, but they tagged Godwin. Tom adjusted his contract. They're going after Shaq. They're in talks with him. The thing about Shaq is he's already won twice, so rings don't really mean a lot to him.
Wait, who else did he win with?
He won one with Denver on the Peyton Manning's team.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, he's been around a while.
He's been around a while, but his first 5 seasons, he only got paid $4.5 million.
Yeah, no, he's gonna leave and get paid.
He wants to get paid. I know that.
I don't think
the
he's
Bucs are trying everything they can do. I agree with you. I don't think he's coming back either. They're trying everything they can do. I don't know how much the quarterback's going to be getting paid this upcoming season with the way he rearranged his contract. If they can keep Shaq, would you put them at number 1 in the NFC?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to keep Shaq. I think it's like a 5% chance they keep him.
So then if they're losing Shaq, who's one of the better pass rushers on that team, you got an aging Ndamukong Suh. You have JPP, who's not getting any younger.
Yeah, he's been around so long, but he's like 30 right now,
He's 32.
Yeah. Both of those guys are on the wrong side of 30. So
I just worry about. I see the same thing. They're investing in players like Godwin, and that's all great. But they have so many receivers. OJ Howard's coming back. They don't really need. Antonio Brown's probably going to resign. They don't need wide receivers or skill positions, but they signed that, and their defense could be drastically hurting, and that's kind of what got them where they were. I just saw I just see the similar slippery slope that they take in keeping the quarterback happy.
I think it's a little different, but
no, it is. It's very different, but it's similar.
The Bucs still have a great defense. The Chiefs only have one. I don't even like Tyrann Mathieu that much. Tyrann Mathieu, I think, is a little overrated.
Well, I think he's overpaid. He's overpaid for sure.
Yeah, the same thing. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He's not worth his pay. He's not worth his contract, is what I'm trying to say. Chris Jones is the only player on their defense that is. The Bucs still have like 7 or 8 guys on their starting, 11. I do think he's going to be a huge loss. I mean, what do you replace him with? You really can't. I mean, you could go out and find, they could do a basketball thing. They keep finding old vets, but there aren't that many, around, So it's defensive players especially. I've always felt like defensive players, when they get hurt, they get discarded the fastest because they're not skill positions, I've noticed over the years, defensive players, when they get really hurt, they just get discarded. So I always support defensive players going after the money because they are always hitting, they're always hitting. So it's, and they already get the smaller contracts, unless you're a corner.
Oh, he should by far, the most important thing for him to do is to go get paid.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I'm saying
I think the Bucs will be fine. I think they'll be fine. It is going to be a huge loss, though. They're not going to be the overwhelming favorite without him.
But it'll be interesting.
They'll be the favorite.
It'll be interesting if maybe the contract he gets offered. I'm just throwing numbers out. If he gets offered $13 million from the Bucs, and then maybe other teams out there offering him 15 or 16, 3 to 4 more. Do you take the ring for $3 less million, or I mean?
Didn't you just say he only got paid $5 million his first 5 years, or he got paid
I know, but if it's a long-term 4-year deal and you're going to be somewhere where you're happy, you've been winning, and you're still going to be. I mean, you're going to be getting paid obviously quite a bit less. You're probably going to make, let's just say, $10 million less dollars. Which is a lot of money. I can't talk about that money and say it's nothing, but
yeah,
I think that there is a point to be made if they offer him the right contract. That would be their only chance. That's all I'm saying.
Hold on, I have his career earnings here. Yeah, okay. So you take out this last year, he's only made $10 million in his entire career, and that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was 7 years, and we're not including 2020. So 7 years, $10 million. I think he's going to go for it all. He got paid 15 this last year, but his first 6 years, he only made $10 million. I think he's been drastically underpaid. I think he's going to it's not even close.
Well, yeah, he is the NFL's leading sack holder for the last 3 seasons.
It's not like his third year, like a bunch of great defensive players. His second or third year, he got a huge contract. He was getting paid. He didn't get paid $1 million until 2018. He was getting paid under $1 million a year his first 5 years. So
it'll be interesting to see how they work things out. Maybe old Tom's got something up his sleeve, but you're right. Likely it is that
I saw him get interviewed by a reporter on Twitter, and it seemed like he's like, I love it here, but I got to think about my family. And when you hear that, the guy's gonna go get paid, and he has his 2 rings, so he could,
He's got quite the career. He just needs to have the money.
If he didn't have if they had lost in the Super Bowl, I would say yes. Not a long contract, but I think he'd sign another year for short of what he's worth. But, it's like, not to go back to basketball, but it's like Harrison Barnes, After they won the championship, and then in 2016 he was terrible in the finals. He's like, I got my ring, and the Kings completely overpaid him.
The Mavs.
Not that Shaq is going to be overpaid. I think he's going to get paid what he's worth. But the point is, he got his ring. I like taking shots at Harrison Barnes. I think he's a punk. He was overrated, but
we don't like Harrison Barnes
Shaq
after the 73-9 doesn't get a ring with that, and that's from him.
He was the worst player on both teams in the 2016 finals.
He gets a bad rap for that, and it's well deserved.
Well deserved. Anyways, to go back to Shaq, I think Shaq's going to go seek out getting paid. I think the Bucks will be fine. I honestly think you look at their roster last year, it's kind of like their roster. If they didn't have so many losses earlier in the season, their team, just from looking at the roster sheet, was so stacked compared to everyone else's team. The eyeball test. Or not the eyeball test. But when they did the eyeball test and they were losing, I think it took away. It's like, we shouldn't be shocked that they won when you go back and look at the roster that they had.
Yeah, I think I would attribute a lot of that to the lack of preparation.
Yeah, agreed. Even though, Tom wasn't following that crap. He was out there going early to those early. The NFL had a cutoff. You can't go in early and do this stuff.
Oh, he was meeting underground.
He was meeting all summer.
At
you remember that?
Yeah.
He was meeting all summer.
But still, I think there is something to be said about the meetings that you have where it's like you kind of have to be sneaking around, whereas you can have practices full out, reporters and stuff. Hey, so Cam Newton just signed for a 1 year. Was it $13 million?
I didn't see the price tag.
Double check, 13 or 15, I think.
Really, that much? Jesus, is that true?
This will be the last thing we talk about, probably. I know
that's a lot of money.
I know you got
Cam.
some stuff to do, and I'm getting kind of hungry myself. I did eat before the podcast, though, so I hope for those of you viewers who watched the last episode, I seem less impatient.
I would appreciate if you did that all the time in the future. That would be nice.
I got you, buddy.
You're a little bit foul last time, but it's cool. We all go through stuff. Oh, no, it's only 5. That's what I thought.
Oh, 1 year, $5 million?
Yeah, dude, he didn't play well enough to get paid $15 million.
No, he didn't. But what I wanted to...
Oh, wait. It has a... Oh, it's incentive. Wait. Okay, here it is. Oh, it's 15, but it's 5 base, and the other $9 million, it's 14 point something, is all incentive based.
Okay, so it was 15. Technically.
The other $9 million, if they don't make the playoffs, I don't think he gets any of that $9 million.
So here's the thing, though. If you have that defense, right, and then Cam Newton, I know he played bad last year.
The other $9 million can be earned only via team and individual incentives tied to playoffs, Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, League MVP, and Super Bowl MVP.
Wow. Well, we'll have to look into that more, but
it's basically $5 million if he doesn't make the playoffs.
Okay, so let's say he makes the playoff. I think there's a fair case that he could sneak into the playoffs, and I'll tell you why. He led the league in the NFL for rushing touchdowns. You're right. I know what you're going to say. He wasn't throwing the ball well. But if you looked at the wide receivers he had around him, they're pretty much like they were ghosts. They weren't there. I mean, there's a reason why Tom left in the first place, and they didn't add any talent around him anyways. So Cam Newton didn't have any better players the year after. They didn't draft or sign anyone. He had the same crappy receivers that maybe got even worse because their star quarterback left them. So I think that most quarterbacks do better in their year 2. And
what you're saying after they've learned the offense
yes.
for a year. Yeah, because they're picking up a new playbook.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to say on that. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, you bring up good points. We can't really. That's why it was like some people are saying Tom Brady was washed, right? With those receivers. I don't have a good gauge on Cam Newton and Carson Wentz, right? Because they were like in the same situation, the exact same situation with their skill positions. Except for the Eagles had Ertz, but Ertz has been slowing down. He's 30-something now. But you don't know what your quarterback is when you don't have a single, like, functional receiver.
Totally.
Like, guys that I feel like the Eagles and the Patriots did that. I think Carson Wentz, not to go on a tangent, but I think that Carson Wentz is going to do well on the Colts.
Me too. I think
they
that's a sleeper for fantasy.
Yeah, they got Pittman and they got a bunch of other young talent, and they're getting T.Y. Hilton off the books, who's been terrible, which I love, and they're probably going to draft another receiver. I like what the Colts are doing.
They have Ebron over there, or is he on the Steelers?
I think he was on the. I don't know. I think he's on the Steelers.
You're right. Pittman does look good though.
He looks great. I just think the Eagles did themselves a disservice by having such crappy weapons, and they totally whiffed on Jalen Reagor. I mean, he could end up being good, but they had so many other receivers they could have picked. So it's like, and then going back to the Patriots, it's as everyone says, it's Bill Belichick's only flaw. He can't draft a receiver. N'Keal Harry is terrible. So it's but it's like, what are you going to do? You need to put Cam, because he, as you know, I've said it a lot. I don't want to go on a huge thing on Cam, but he's like Lamar Jackson because he's a bad thrower.
I think he's better. I think he's better than Lamar.
He's better than Lamar, but if I had to categorize people, that's the closest I could,
Yeah.
Just the way his ball sometimes, waggles. He needs really, really talented receivers around him, which I think they should pay Odell, by the way.
Keep in mind, Dean is wearing a Bama shirt right now, and as we all know, Cam Newton is a former Auburn alumnus.
Auburn Tiger. Yeah.
So we keep all receipts, right, Dean?
Yeah, I'm not trying to take shots. I love Cam. Cam's a chill guy, but I think he is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league. I think he should be a starter. I just think that he is skill-wise has a very low ceiling by his ball, and as you said, he led the league in rushing touchdowns, but Cam isn't young anymore.
For a quarterback.
He needs to be inside the 5-yard line. And they couldn't get to the 5-yard line, right, as the season went on.
But I think you brought up fair points. Backtracking a tiny bit to what you said earlier.
Yeah.
We don't know where Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, we didn't know where he was. He looked awful last year. This year he comes around and gets 40 touchdowns. When you have such a lackluster group of skill players, skill positions, you can't really determine, because Cam can't catch the balls he throws, right? He can only put them where he wants.
Yeah.
So I think with what he was given, and he did what he could. I know there's definitely some situations where he didn't make throws, but he also had COVID, and I know he's young, but missing games for a team on a season that's shortened and weird, not shortened, but just weird. I think he hit some unfortunate bumps on the road, and I think this season will be smoother.
Besides Kamara and McCaffrey, if your best receiver is your running back, you have problems. And I think the Eagles and New England, those 3 running backs, they were the best receivers on their respective teams. And that's a problem. You have no wide receivers. So, you don't have receivers, you can't throw the ball well, you can't run the ball well, they load the box. It's simple. It's simple math. So
that's that's pretty much the
It is, that's it,
situation.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the situation. I want them to go out and they've been talking about Odell for years. Odell was looking good. I saw some video of him on the treadmill. They need to go out and get their not Randy Moss because there's no Randy Moss, but I think they need to go out and pay. Even though Belichick hates paying people,
That's the only way he gets receivers.
he needs to pay his receivers because he doesn't know how to draft receivers.
No.
I think you get Cam. If you get Cam Odell, and how sick would this be? Kenny Golladay didn't get franchise tagged by the Lions.
Kenny Golladay would be a great option.
Kenny Golladay, you freaking whatever, pay $40 million. They have they have this fifth most amount of money in the league, because they were stockpiling for this year. They have like $70 million or something, like something crazy. Why don't they just go out and get him Kenny Golladay and Odell? And then we'll see how good Cam Newton is. I think that would be insane.
That'd be a sight to see. And
those two are on their. I think Odell's. I know Kenny's a free agent. I don't know about Odell. Or Odell has 1 year. I know the Browns can't pay him. So I think they've been talking about Odell to the Patriots for a while. I think both of those guys. I think I'd be interested in the Patriots offense.
No, completely. I think you bring up some good trade or signings that they could do. They need to desperately. Edelman's a shell of himself.
He wouldn't be playing on most other teams.
I think he could maybe join Tampa just for the troll and the situation that they had with Gronk.
I like Odell a lot. I mean, I like Edelman a lot, but I don't. He's not an NFL receiver anymore. He's too slow and he's too beat up. I don't know why he's a bigger guy than Wes Welker. Wes Welker had to retire because of concussions, but he doesn't look like he has concussion problems, but he looks slow out there.
Julian Edelman might have concussion problems, though, because he got arrested a year or two ago for no reason. He was jumping on top of a car. I don't know, maybe he was just drunk, but
he's always gotten arrested a couple times, like at San Mateo, CSM, in Toledo. I think he got arrested when he was the quarterback there. He's always had a little.
He's a wild guy. I got it.
Exactly.
Well, you love that about him too, because it really shows.
Oh no, he's like how there's in basketball and baseball and football. There's those guys that maybe aren't the stars during the season and they don't have the physical gifts to shine, but they're gritty and they're calm under pressure in the playoffs. And that's why
Johnny Damon.
Yeah, Johnny Damon wasn't the best player, but
the playoff
his star shined the brightest in the playoffs in the biggest pressure situations. I put Edelman in that category.
Did you like that Johnny Damon comparison or no? I mean, they both played in Boston.
It's all right. Damon was great postseason. I think his contracts, they paid him for his postseason performances.
Yeah.
Because I thought if you look at him statistically from a season player in season, he wasn't worth his contract. But when the playoffs came around, he was great. So.
Good call there, Dean. And we had to throw a little baseball in for the fans.
Yeah. Stoked for baseball. It's yeah, man.
It's feeling slow
coming
right now.
Yeah.
It's
gonna start speeding up. The Dodgers and the Padres are gonna be fun to watch. Yeah.
All right.
The whatever happens, the AL is not gonna win. That's all I have to say. The AL is not gonna win.
Sorry, boys.
Yeah. Sorry, Yanks. They don't have a shot in hell.
No.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, if that's cool with you, it's cool with me if we end it on that note. I think we got a lot covered here.
Yeah, we really rounded all the bases.
Yeah, we did. An hour 15 is a good point for us to call it a quits. So
you didn't acknowledge the pun.
Oh yeah, we did round all the bases. The bases that exist for us.
Yes.
All right, fellas
Indeed.
and ladies.
All right. Thanks for watching. Peace, people.
Happy Jersey Friday.
Happy Jersey Friday.
All right, buddy.